Hello everybody and welcome back. Good to talk to all of you again today. And today I have a replay for all of you from Aloop, who's playing a Kremlin on Warrior's Path. Now, this particular game is a really good game in terms of damage wise and experience and everything, but I think more importantly this game shows you, if you're a Battleship player, some interesting lessons to keep in mind, just to be more effective potentially. Since Battleship play isn't just aiming your guns, shooting, and angling your armor, there's a lot more to it in terms of maybe target selection, in terms of positioning, in terms of movement, in terms of those kinds of things. So, very start of the game, Aloop is pushing relatively aggressively for a Kremlin down towards the A cap. Kremlin is a ship that can do this, as she is a relatively bulky battleship. As long as you don't show your sides at the early stages and get obliterated by something, you're able to tank quite a lot of damage. So, enemy Shimakaze, of course, decides to show himself at B, and Aloop turns his guns and shoots at the Shimakaze. Now, this is one of those first things. If you see an enemy destroyer that you can hit with your AP, shoot it. You don't have to change ammo to HE. Even if you just get straight over pen 10% damage, 10% of, let's say, an AP shell that does like 10k is still 1,000 damage per shell. That's a lot of damage for a destroyer that doesn't have a lot of HP. One of the things I see at the lower tiers, for example, is I see a lot of Battleship players. They'll see a destroyer, and instead of shooting the AP salvo they have already reloaded, they will switch over to HE, wait the painful 30 whatever seconds, and then try to shoot. By that time, the destroyer is either long gone or, you've got torpedoes in your way. So just shoot. Shoot them with AP. It's good damage, and destroyers are not going to like taking battleship-sized AP. All right. So right now, without any other targets to shoot at, by the way, just on a funny note, enemy Missouri decides, perfect, this is going to be the time when I show my broadside in front of a Kremlin that is like 15.6 kilometers away from you. That is a really bad decision. You should know where your threat is, stay angled, get behind island cover, and then decide what you're going to do. Instead, there's the broadside, and he eats 23,000 damage. Not smart. In fact, having eaten Citadel damage, that stuff doesn't really heal back. Enemy Akazuki shows himself now, finally, and with a relatively questionable name at that. Spots the Shimakaze. Shimakaze blows a smoke because can't outduel an Akazuki in a gun duel. Understandable, but also does provide at least a little bit of screening help here, giving Aloop warning of these torpedoes. This allows Aloop to turn in, hug the island relatively closely, and is going to be able to dodge these torpedoes. The same, of course, is not going to be said for the Massachusetts that is just sticking to him like glue. So another thing to keep in mind when you're playing battleships is don't stick to another ship so closely. You do two things when you do that. You eliminate the friendly's ability to maneuver, and you're also eliminating your own ability to maneuver. Don't do that. Give a little bit of spacing. That is really important, by the way. Another thing, of course, is understand the capabilities of the enemy ship. So there's an Akazuki. It's got a torpedo reload booster, which means another set of torpedoes is coming. Don't do something predictable, like, oh, I don't know, turn and go into said torpedoes again, which the Massachusetts is going to, as you hear another torpedo hit. Right. So, Aloop also eliminates the enemy Shimakaze. Again, finish off low HP destroyers. The thing you're going to hate the most is a destroyer on low HP that then knows how to play, because that destroyer will stay invisible from you for the rest of the game, continuously harassing you with torpedoes. And remember, lower the HP, more the adrenaline rush got maximized, faster the torpedo reload. Oh, and would you look at that. That Missouri, did you not learn the lesson of showing your broadside the first time? No? Guess not. Need another Citadel. So angling is another thing I've got to remind Battleship players. Remember to angle against enemies. Of course, when you start to realize that, yes, I am going to angle to things, you start to quickly realize that you can only angle to certain numbers of targets at once, namely things that are in front of you. It's really hard to angle against two sides. So this is the next important lesson. Oh, by the way, enemy Graf Zeppelin, where are you going? You are an aircraft carrier. I mean, you should have better awareness, like where my team is going or where I should go. This is not the right place to go, by the way. This is going to get you killed. Yeah, of course. Anyways, so going on to the next thing that I was talking about earlier is that it's possible to angle one direction. It's really hard to angle two. And this is why as Battleship, you really want to try to create crossfire situations. And the reason I want to talk about this particular thing in, particular is my last couple of days as I've been playing this game, I've been noticing this basic lesson seemingly having been almost forgotten by a lot of players. You'll see a lot of people who will follow you all the way and constantly follow you instead of thinking about where can I set up so that we can both get some kind of crossfire. So if you take a look right now, there's a Missouri over on the top of the B cap. That Missouri is going to force things to try to angle towards that Missouri. So any battleship that goes in towards B is going to try to go bow in towards that Missouri. Or they're going to realize that there's a Kremlin here at A, and they're going to go bow in towards the Kremlin. And if you go bow in towards the Kremlin, you show broadside to the Missouri, or vice versa, right? So as a battleship player, you have to keep this in mind. You can't just willy-nilly just follow one person everywhere. You have to consider setting up crossfires. Because here's what happens, right? You'll see this Georgia is starting to go into the cap. And this Georgia is also less attentive as well. This is one of the things. You can be less attentive to things that are actually on your sides. You're more attentive to things that are directly in front of you. So the Georgia decides that, no, I am going to go full broadside because I don't even realize that there's something here. Because why? He's focused on something in a different direction where his guns were originally pointed. So this gives Aloop a quadruple citadel and a devastating strike as the Georgia gets essentially wiped off the map. And he says, oops, I wasn't paying attention at all. Why? Because this Kremlin is essentially in the side position. It's actually a very good point right now, if we were to really look at this game, that the enemy Gascon, for example, is probably unaware of what's going on this side. The Seattle is probably unaware of what's really happening over on this side because probably not paying attention. All of them being relatively focused on what's in front of them. That Neptune, that Harugamo, that Missouri, the stuff that's in front of them is more where their attention is. So the Seattle comes out also fully broadside and again gives Aloop the easy shot. Of course, no Citadel here, but still 10,000 damage hurts when you're in a Seattle. Furthermore, the Seattle is now in a really bad situation. Why? Because you can't really turn away because you're going to beat yourself if you go forward. You're in this big open ocean. Lack of awareness in terms of where the crossfire is coming from because, again, attention was somewhere else. Seattle is going to get thoroughly deleted right about now. Come on, next salvo here. There we go. And, oh, of course, the Massachusetts does get the killing shot. All right. Fine, fair enough. Oh, yes, here's the next thing. If you're playing a torpedo destroyer, and this is not a battleship tip, but if you're playing a destroyer and you're using your torpedoes as weapons, watch for where your team is. Actually, any torpedo-equipped ship, never mind just destroyers. Watch where your team is. Because the Shimakaze on Aloop's team, for the purposes of torpedoing that Seattle, almost torpedoes both Aloop and this Massachusetts, who is still sticking to him like glue. Yeah, there's the wave of totally not friendly torpedoes. Shimakaze, don't do this, right? Horrible idea. Anyhow, so Aloop is now coming back up here. All right, now he's pushing up. He's got a Sovietsky Soyuz to the south. All right, this is something he probably doesn't want to fight, so he's probably going to try to go north first because north has more ships, going to try to get rid of them. And see what happens here. All right, yep, he's going to head towards the north. Enemy Stalingrad is there, who's now basically bowed about with the Missouri. I mean, in this kind of situation, Stalingrad probably isn't going to opt to take a ram, so I think the Stalingrad is probably going to try for some kind of like drive-by situation. So if Aloop just sort of holds up right around here, he should get some beautiful shots as the Stalingrad and the Missouri go right by each other, and that should be a massive devastating strike, or at least a huge chunk of damage. So we're waiting to see what happens here. Stalingrad is, not really sure what the Stalingrad is doing here. Kind of fails the drive-by, really. Yeah, but comes out full broadside in front of guess what? A Kremlin. And again, very unaware of the situation. Eats another huge chunk of damage there. 3 citadels. Aloop's already got high caliber, so that's fantastic. 212k damage so far and rising. Stalingrad now goes, oh crap, and starts to turn away, but this is really kind of late because you've lost a huge chunk of your HP. And Stalingrad's primary armor protection is, well, not really in this kind of situation. It works when you're sort of bow in. It works when you're a little bit angled, either butt in, one of those kind of situations. But not when you're down to like 4,000 HP because then people can shoot your superstructure. And that's another thing. When dealing with ships that are bow into you, you have 2 options as a battleship. You either switch to HE and shoot HE, or you can try to target their superstructure. Now, if their superstructure isn't very saturated, you're going to get some decent damage there, so shoot that area. Of course, you can always opt to use your high explosive as well. That works. All right. So enemy Montana here, seeing the Stalingrad getting killed, should probably start to realize that there is some danger here. So maybe don't come charging in here like this. But Aloop here actually also makes a little bit of a let's say, a little bit of a dangerous play here, because he takes a shot, I think, a little too early here. This gives the opportunity right now. Had the Montana turned here, gotten all his guns correctly on target, reloaded correctly, aimed correctly, he could probably get close to dev striking Aloop here. But he gets the first decent salvo. The second one is not great. And then, yeah, well, then he just gives Aloop enough time to start angling. And so Aloop is now going to angle correctly, make sure that the Montana can't get another shot. Gets his guns here, doesn't even need to aim in, just uses that little reticle right there and clap. Another Citadel, and that is kill number 4, and we're on 244,000 damage. Remaining enemy ships include an Akazuki, a Khabarovsk, and a Sovietsky Soyuz. So of course, as a battleship, you don't really want to go chasing a Khabarovsk that's on the A line, and the Akazuki is something that you're never really going to spot anyways if the Akazuki doesn't want to be spotted. So of course, do the reasonable thing, go down and engage the Sovietsky. That is probably the smart thing to do as well. And of course, let's see what his own team is doing. Okay, Massachusetts is turning back around. Good, Izumo is sailing off to the sea cap, which I guess is okay. It's alright. You can go for the sea cap, actually. Might be a good way to guarantee a win. Any extra points really helps, considering that right now they're actually down on points. So not a bad idea, but Loop is definitely going to go for the fight, because why not? So if you're the enemy Sovietsky Soyuz right now, what do? What is your best option? Honestly, I would say in a situation like that, assuming you're not getting crossfired, it's probably best to try to see what damage you can get off of maybe the Massachusetts, and then maybe just ram the Kremlin. Take out a big threat, especially since, this Kremlin has really been kind of tearing your team apart. He's a good player, so you might want to end his streak. Ram him, do something, and it's not hard to ram. You just kind of point your bow in their general direction, go at full speed, and try not to screw up, right? Yeah, and the Massachusetts is also relatively low as well, so who knows, as you're going for the ram on the Kremlin, you can maybe shoot a broadside Massachusetts, and maybe you're going to get that kill. But don't do this, because the Sovietsky Soyuz decides that he is going to do this instead. Also come out broadside. Now, this is entirely the Sovietsky's fault. This is not any credit to Loop at all. Okay, I mean, okay, it's credit for him knowing how to aim. Yeah, I won't give him that. But, yeah, the Soyuz... seriously here, why? How? Why would you do this? Why would you just come out full broadside, and then after getting hit, you should probably start to go, oh damn, there is something big here. This might be the time to start angling, per se. And yeah, okay, so the last chunk of damage here is kind of, yeah, enemy being full-blown potato. Oh, by the way, watch this RNG, right? 2 salvos so far, not really anything. Enemy still on 40,000 plus HP. Watch this salvo here. Watch this. RNG going, yep, look at that. Fully flat, 3 shells straight into the Citadel. Triple Citadel. There is the Kraken Unleashed. By the way, the Sovietsky Soyuz play there, which is going full broadside and getting absolutely potatoed like that. This is one of the reasons why you don't really see a lot of like 350, 400k games in a battleship that come out of my channel, and it's one of the reasons because I just don't find those games all that exciting to watch most times, because a lot of them is just watching enemy teams do dumb stuff like going full broadside in front of a Kremlin at really short distances. You have a death wish. That's the best way to put it. Alright, so the last couple of minutes of this game is pretty damn boring because not much happens at all, because Loop is eventually going to go from B to A to try to slow or cap that or whatever. Maybe try to shoot a Khabarovsk that is still deciding that maybe his decision is to come closer. I'm not really sure. Yeah, not really sure what the Khabarovsk's plan here is, but it ends up being a little bit of a capping chase battleship, chase destroyer kind of end game. So not super exciting. So I will... Actually, there's one little bit at the very, very end that's kind of good to talk about, but I'll get to that when that time comes. Khabarovsk, I have no idea what this is. This is coming in way too close. You should know there's a Kremlin there. Like, yeah, okay. Asking for death. Enemy team is down to just one last little Akazuki, who is somewhere in the, I guess, D4-ish area, somewhere around that vicinity. So we'll see where that ends up being. So we'll see soon. Torpedoes, there we go, coming in actually from around the C5 direction, but assuming the direction of movement and the torpedoes travel time, that destroyer is probably around D4 right now. So we'll eventually see what's going on. I mean, obviously Loop has dropped off the detect, which means that destroyer is probably behind an island right now, but we will see soon. Anyways, battleship players, sort of key lessons, just to reiterate everything so far. One, keep in mind your targets, right? So if you see destroyers, shoot destroyers. See broadside stuff, shoot broadside stuff. Like, keep that in mind. Two, understand what armor angling is. Don't learn armor angling equals you die, like that Missouri and like that Sovietsky Soyuz, and that Stalingrad and that Georgia. Learn how to angle. Learn how to generate crossfire opportunities for yourself or for your own teammates. Why? Because winning is good. You want to win. Learning how to win is going to increase your reward significantly. You're going to have a lot more fun playing the game as well. And so learn that, create those crossfire opportunities. Learn the capabilities of enemy ships. Knowing what they have and what capabilities they have will allow you to make good decisions. There's the enemy Akazuki. Akazuki had fired one torpedo set from, remember, around C5 direction. Akazuki has now smoked up. Akazuki has fired another torpedo set. That means this Akazuki right now has burned another torpedo reload booster. I've seen a lot of battleships, when they see an enemy destroyer who's popped smoke, they'll run away, they turn away. No, close this distance. You can get into proxy spotting distance and you can shoot them. Of course, with only destroyers left, you can see the Aloop's ammo choice has now gone to high explosive because he wants to clap this destroyer when he sees him. So he's going to close this distance, try to go for the proxy spot and see what happens. Don't be afraid of it, right? You have to understand the capabilities of enemy ships if you're playing a battleship. And I guess finally, and the one last thing is improve your aim, right? Battleships, because you fight at longer distances where your shells have relatively a little bit more travel time, try to learn how to lead well. One of the things that I've been oftentimes seeing from people is they'll complain about battleships not performing, and then you look at their main battery hit rate and you're seeing abysmal hit rates, like really accurate battleships, and you're seeing like 20% hit rates, and they're saying, well, no, it's the ship that's wrong. No, really accurate battleships, you should be hitting, like good players, you'll see them, they're hitting like 30 something plus, 33, roughly 33%, I think, of their shots. Learn to aim better as well, because if you aim better, you're hitting more of your shots, you're doing more damage, and battleships have bigger and bigger and bigger impact as you do more and more damage. Aloop is going to chase his Akazuki because, why the heck not? Akazuki, Shimakaze, what are you doing, friend? Yeah, that's a bit of a wasted thing there. All right, so here we go. Oh yeah, you can press C to change the turret view. Sometimes, the game defaults to like the rear turret view, so press C to change the forward one. Akazuki blows the other reloaded torpedo salvo. Well, that is pretty much over for him right now. Akazuki's probably like only remaining thing to do is now just farm up some damage and, kind of end that, really. I mean, had he had that torpedo salvo still, after he killed the Shimakaze, could have made a suicide run with the amount of HP remaining. Torpedo the Kremlin with that reloaded set. Maybe get the kill. Maybe, probably not. The Kremlin still has a lot of HP and very good torpedo protection. But you could have at least gotten more damage out of it, and then who knows what else could have happened, right? So anyways, here's the end of the game. 334,566 damage, 14 Citadel hits. That's beautiful. 7 ships sunk. Literally every major award you can think of: Kraken, High Caliber, Confederate, and 3,161 base experience, which is a phenomenal amount of base experience. Take a look at the damage: 305,000 done by armor piercing, a little bit done by HE, and even some secondary damage. And of course, with premium account, 547,571 credits. Anyways, folks, I hope this video has given you maybe some tips to think about for your battleship play. Hopefully it'll help you. And until next time, take care of yourselves, and I'll talk to all of you again really, really soon.